Welcome to Minister Ben Willis Blast Off Podcast. My name is Minister Ben Willis. I'm your host for today. I would like you to subscribe to my channel and to hit the like button, to share, and leave comments. And if there's comments that you like, let me know. If there's some shows that you'd like me to do, let me know. And I'd like to thank you for supporting me. I'd like to thank the supporters of the show. I really am very humble for your support and things of that nature. And I'd like to thank the people who have inspired me to do these shows. My mom, rest in peace, Mommy, and my brother, James Willis. I'd like to thank you guys for doing that for me. And my engineer, Jeremy. Jeremy is a heck of a guy. I mean, I'm talking about expert, sharp, diligent, talented, personified. Anything that I want, that I imagine, he makes it come to life. So I want to give a shout out to my man, Jeremy, my engineer. Thank you a lot, Jeremy. Today's show, I want to talk about, my theme is, if the human family was like a team. Now, being a former athlete and a former coach, there's a lot that goes along with that. But before I talk about that, I was saddened by the event that happened last week. And it was a shooting of two little girls that were 6 and 7 years old. I was watching the news, and it was stated that a mother was putting her little girls in a car, and I guess they were on their way to go to the store. And they got shot. One got shot in the stomach, and the 7-year-old got shot in the heart. And that bothered me a lot, and it saddened me. And eventually, the little girl the 7-year-old that got shot in the heart, she passed away. And while both little girls were in the hospital, the 6-year-old asked for her older sister, but she didn't know that her sister was dead. And they interviewed the father, and the father was he's a guy that worked, and he worked for Chicago Transit Authority, and I could see the pain and the hurt on him of a father. Just imagine, as a parent, losing your children to violence like that. And I'm looking at these young girls, they're getting shot and killed like there's gangland and mafia hits. And so it saddens me like that, and I'm upset. And this is why I do the work that I do. You know, I'm involved in the community and trying to uplift and educate and come up with solutions for those types of things. And there are organizations that are out here doing those things. And I do the same thing, and I also partner with those organizations that's doing that. And I'm really pissed off with the superintendent of police here in Chicago, Superintendent Brown. You know, all he's doing is standing there and blaming people. All he does is states that the Chicago Police Department is doing a great job, and he puts the onus on the court system. He says, we're doing a great job, it's the court's fault. And so now what you have now is the blame game. And in the meantime, a lot of the citizens here in the city of Chicago are getting killed and getting shot, and the crime rate is rising, especially on his watch. Okay, I had to say that because that bothered me, and I hope that God comfort that family that lost their children, their babies. And again, my prayers and condolences go out to them, and I hope that God strengthens them. Now, I'm talking about the human family and what's the difference between the human family and then a team, a sports team. You know, with the sports team, these are the dynamics. You have a team, there's one goal involved, and the goal is to win a championship. Here is now, you got people of all different race and backgrounds, religion, and political parties, and some of them on other sides of the street. What I mean by that is, in fact, I played on teams and coached teams of players that were black. You had white players. You had Hispanic players. You had some players that were Republicans. You had some players that were Democrats. You had some players that were Christian, Jews, and Muslim. And all those differences are put aside because we're all aiming for one goal, and that is to win a championship. Now, with that being said, it takes discipline to get ready, prepared to play a game. You got to practice. You have to study. And then you got to put the work in. Now you got to put the work in. You got to put hard work in. And now all of you are doing this at one time. Just imagine 55 men working hard for one goal. It ain't about the color of your skin, man. That guy right next to you is a white guy. That guy over there is an Hispanic. This guy is a Christian. This guy is a Muslim. It ain't about that. We're working to fight and play against an opposition. And all of that is put aside. But do you know that there are people, if it wasn't to play a sport, that they wouldn't have anything to do with? I mean, there are players, there are guys that never played with black guys before. There are black guys that never played with white guys before. Never. There are people that never interacted with Christians and Muslims. They never have. There are stereotypes that are formed. You know, like all black people are fast. They can run fast. And the other stereotypes that white men can't jump. Those are stereotypes, but they are dispelled when you have players interacting with each other. Now they're all on the same team, and you get ready to say, well, you know what? This white guy can jump. This black guy isn't that fast. In fact, you know, there's stereotypes that white guys are slow. And you get out there and perform, and you find out that, wow, that's not true, because this white guy is pretty doggone fast. In fact, you know, there's a white guy that was the fastest human. I think it was in the 1972 Olympics that it was a white guy that was crowned the world's fastest human. He was, I think his name was Valery Borzov, that he was the fastest, the world's fastest human. He was a white guy. And I think in the NBA, the dunk contest was won by a white guy. I think one of the Berries, and I think Tom Chambers, I think, was a dunk champion. So we don't know that, though, unless you participate in the sport. And so these things, having that type of togetherness and working together for a common goal, you start to knock down those barriers as far as stereotypes and you know, all those misnomers about each other. And that's something that we should have, because what goes on here in everyday life, because of people don't know about people of different races and different hues and different way of thinking, is that you take that not knowing about a person and you use that against them, and it's not even valid. So when we look at sports, and sports is the fiber of the United States of America, the pastime. This is something, even during the time of the pandemic, when there was nothing to do, when everybody was in the house, and they was clamoring for something. And when there was no sports or anything like that, the only thing that they had to present then was the Last Dance, when they're talking about the documentary of the Bulls and Michael Jordan. And the viewership of that, because of the pandemic, that everybody was involved in it. People that don't even look at sports were looking at that, because what that is it brings people together. You know, when you in the stadium and guys are going crazy and you're pulling for your team, you're pulling for the team that represents your city, and it's against another team, and it doesn't make a difference about what color a person is or what their relationship is with the God, or whether they worship or don't worship. It's about our particular team that we're playing for. You know, you go to Soldiers Field, everybody's pulling for the Chicago Bears. Excuse me. They're not worried about anything else but the Chicago Bears and if they win. If the Cubs won the World Series, it's about Chicago Cubs won. When the White Sox won the World Series, it's about the White Sox won, Chicagoans. So it had nothing to do with that. That brought people together, and that brings people together. Another thing about the beauty of sports, you know, it's about the huddle. And you know the huddle is when you see the players, they call timeout. And then they gather together and they look about and talk about what's the next play we're going to have? What's the next strategy? What's the next move? And when you're in that huddle, you look around and you look and see who's in there. And see, the thing is if they don't, you can see it, and you can look at each person's eye that's in that huddle. And if they're not about the next play or trying to work hard to win a championship and put the work in, if they're not, you get them out of that huddle, because they're not playing for the same thing that you are doing. They don't have the same desire and want to accomplish the same goal that you want to accomplish. You get them out that huddle. And that's where you weed people out in life. If there's people in your life that's not about the same thing that you're about, you get them out of your huddle. And that's where the correlation is on sports and athletics and about being a team. And this is what I see, the camaraderie. When you win, there's tremendous elation for when you win. And when you lose, you have the hurt that you lost. And the thing is you hurt for the person that you're playing hard for. You play hard for that next guy. That next guy is playing hard for you. And that's why I say, if only the human family would be like a team, that you would play hard to accomplish a goal. When you see those guys out there on the field, this is not just sport and play. This is not activity. This is in these guys' DNA. When you see high school players and college players and professional players, this is in their DNA. They put their bodies through tremendous work. It takes tremendous discipline, and the camaraderie is just outstanding. You look at the young high school players and say, well, y'all playing out there because you're having fun. Yeah, but it's real serious than that. You know, a lot of the players in high school, they have aspirations to go into college. And they can get a free college, they can get a scholarship, free education to college, free, because of scholarship. Then, if they're good enough, and you got the college players, well, they're looking, some of them have aspirations to go into the professional ranks. So they play hard with the idea of having aspirations to maybe get drafted and go to the pros. And then when you make it to the pros, which is the end all. This is the main goal to get to the pros. The pros, they have aspirations to be the best, to be the Hall of Famer. So you're constantly working. But you got some people say, well, you're in the pros and you're making all this money, so you made it. No, not really. You haven't made it. You still got to come out there and perform, because you're making millions and millions of dollars, but if you get hurt, you're not making millions again. If some new guy come in from college, he's trying to take your job. See, in high school, you play to get a scholarship, a free education to college. In college, you're playing for books and tuition. In the professional ranks, in the pros, you're paying for house notes and mortgages and car notes. See, if you don't make it, if you get cut in the pros, who's going to pay the mortgage? Who's going to pay the car notes? You got a $4 million house. How are you going to pay for that? You're not going to make that kind of money being a manager at Walgreens. It just doesn't happen. So it's a lot of pressure every time you put on a helmet or basketball jerseys or baseball jerseys. It's a lot of pressure to do that. And so it takes discipline and it takes camaraderie from your teammates to build and help you, because now you form relationships with these guys. And so it's a lot about that. And people talk to you about different things, and you share different things because you share triumphs and you share failures too. And so that's why I state, and I look at it and I say, if only the human family was like a team. I tell you a story that I've seen. I was a coach for a minor league football team, and when I first started the team, I had some good guys around me. One of the guys that was with me, we decided to start a team because we played in the semi-pro ranks, and it was not. I didn't like the way the organizations were ran, so I said, let's start our own team. And we started our own team. In fact, it was called the Blue Island Cardinals in the southern suburbs of Chicago, Blue Island, Illinois. So we started a team there, and I recruited out of that area, out of the suburban area, out of the Blue Island area, Alsip, Crestwood area, Robbins and Harvey area. And the team I had, they were nice guys. I mean, they were real nice guys. But we got our brains beat out. I mean, we lost every game that we played. The guys were nice. They were real nice guys. They were nice guys. The players were nice guys. The guy who was my partner in setting up the team was nice guys. The coaches were nice guys. And that's what they were. They were nice guys. But nice don't win you football games. They don't win you games because you're a nice person. So I said, I couldn't take it. Remember I talked earlier about who's in your huddle. And so when I looked around and looked at the guys that was in the huddle, the coaches, the players, my partner, when I looked at them, they didn't have that fire. I don't know what their what the end all was for them. I didn't know what their goal was, but it wasn't to win no championship. So I fired all of them. I got rid of everybody. I got rid of all the players. Good guys. I hope they're doing well today. Now, I wish them well today. But I fired all of them. The coaches, the players, and my partner that was with me. And I said, okay, I got to do something here. So I had a meeting with one of the newspaper editors. It was called the Blue Island Sun Standard newspaper. And one of the editors, he interviewed me. And he asked me, he says, "You got rid of everybody. And what are you going to do? You know, you got a season coming up." He said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "That's a lot of pressure for you. It's a lot of pressure." And I told him, I looked him straight in the face. I thought it was kind of condescending what he was saying. And I told him, I make love to pressure. And so what I did, I got going, and I started sending out press releases through the Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Sun-Times. And in fact, this guy, Brian Handley, which is columnist of the Chicago Sun-Times, he did a big article on me, and I started recruiting out of Chicago. And so I got some I got some Rough Riders then. And I recruited and put together a team of dogs. These guys was vicious, and they came with it. And so I had players like that. And so the other teams that was in the league, they saw what I was putting together. So some of their players start coming. And by me being the youngest and the only black head coach, general manager, and owner in the Midwest, then that, of course, a lot of the black players was attracted to the team, but also a lot of white players were coming to my team also. And I designed the uniforms, and I started looking at things on a bigger standpoint. And what I did was, wait a minute, something's blinking here. I'm hearing music. Yeah. Okay, that's my I was talking about my engineer Jeremy. His phone was going off, and I heard music, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking about football, and I hear the little twinkling going on. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the. Hey, listen, again, Mr. Ben Willis Blast Off Podcast, uncut, unapologetic, straight with no chaser. That's how I get it, and I'm gonna keep that there. Anyway, I got some dogs on my team, Rough Riders. You know, no holds barred. And I started putting together a team, and these guys were tough. And we started mowing guys down, and we just blasting people out the water now. You know, we become a terror in the league. And there was a white guy that was on my team, and I seen a tattoo he had on. And it was a white power tattoo. I know what that tattoo meant. And I pulled him aside and I said, "Phil," I said, "I know what that means." And he was shocked. And he said, "Coach, I said, "You don't have to worry. I'm not going to tell anybody about that. You know, I'm not going to tell anybody about the tattoo." And he says, "Coach, I'm going to play hard. I'm going to continue to keep playing hard for you." And he was he was a tough player. I mean, he was a tough player. This guy was a straight up dog. And I said to him, I said, "Phil, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to say anything about that." The point I'm making is this: this guy, he believed it was, he believed in the white power, and he could have been a white supremacist. And he's playing hard for black players, and they playing hard for him. And I knew this because I was a coach. They didn't, but they put all that aside because it wasn't about what you thinking about, or what your ideas about life is. It was about your goal was to win a championship. And this guy was one of my best players. And I don't care what anybody said. I didn't give a damn what he believed. He was my starter. He was a star, and I was keeping him on my team. And he played hard for me, and I appreciate it. And that let me look into the human part of what team sports is all about. And again, like I say, if only the human family was like team sports, would we have these type of problems? I ask myself that. I ask you that. So when you see these guys out there performing and working hard like they do and putting in that work, let me let you know that these guys care. These are a group of people from all different backgrounds that would have continued the stereotype if they wasn't involved in team sports. They would have never known that that person that's right next to them, that is playing for the name of the team that's on front of their jersey, is more important than their ideas. You know, I've had, you know, in a lot of the cities, especially, I'm just going to speak into a lot of the communities that are infested with gang violence. There are oppositions. You know, if you with that gang, we're shooting at this other gang. I had guys on my team that was opposition, or they call nowadays in the street, they call them ops. I had them on my team. It wasn't about them being opposition. When they was on my team, they was on the same team. They fought hard for each other. So I seen that dynamic. I was involved in that dynamic. I kind of missed that. I've been retired from team sports for such a long time, and I probably want to get back into it because it's never out of your blood. So the point I'm making, and I hope that I kind of hit home, and I want to share some light on the team sports and hoping that the human family would be like that. So I want to wish everyone well, and I want to thank all of you for support, those that are supporting me, and I would like for you to please subscribe to my channel. I want you to like and share. Again, I thank you so much for your support. And again, I'm Minister Ben Willis. This is Minister Ben Willis Blast Off Podcast. I wish all of you well and continue on and to keep striving to be the best at what you're doing. This uncut, unapologetic, straight with no chaser. And thank you again, and see you soon.